But alright guys, today we're going to continue with our series. This is number 9 in the series. We've been going for a while. But this is, we're going to continue with what we've been looking at. We're going to go back to 1 Corinthians 13, verse 5, and look at the last part of the verse that we were looking at last week. But before we go there, I just want to let you guys know the importance of this topic. It's simple, but it's so powerful. It could truly revolutionize your life. It could truly change the way you live, change the way you feel, change the way you think, change the way you act with people, the way you receive people. Very, very powerful. The topic that we're going to be looking at today. And it's so important that we pay attention today and see where we need to apply this message into our lives. No matter how hard it is, no matter how hard it may be to apply it to certain areas to our lives, it's so important that we were able to understand it, because this is one of the ways that the enemy is so successful in destroying people. Okay? I want to ask you guys to just give me your attention. I want to try to keep it brief, but straight to the point, because this is a very powerful topic. And like I was saying, this is one of the ways that the enemy is most successful in destroying people. So I want to make sure we're aware of it, so that we're not under the enemy's control or his ways of working. So let's continue where we left off. 1 Corinthians 13, verse 5. Let me know when you guys have it, or when you guys are looking up. I don't know if you guys have your Bibles. But so last week we were looking at love isn't rude, it's not self-seeking, it isn't easily angered. Today we're continuing with the last part of that verse, verse 5. Love keeps no record of wrongs. Okay? Another version says it keeps no record. Love keeps no record of evil. And that word evil, like again, I looked it up on that website that I've been using. Looked it up in the Greek and kind of went to the root of the word, and the evil, it's pretty much meaning the absolute worst, like malice, like desiring to hurt, desiring to harm. The worst of the worst, like evil of evil, as bad as it could get in the wildest sense. And it's saying, love keeps no record of evil that has been done to us, whether it's intentional or unintentional. Love keeps no record of hurt, of evil, of things that have been done to us that have hurt us. And you guys, we live in a broken world. Okay, we live in a broken world, and I'm not oblivious to the fact that our God is big, our God is great, our God is so loving. But that doesn't mean that bad things don't happen on earth, right? I mean, you guys have seen it, right? And that doesn't mean that at times bad things or hurtful things haven't happened to us. Can anyone relate? All right. There's been events that happen that cause hurt, that cause pain. And yes, our God is big. Yes, our God is great. But the fact that we live in a broken world, situations lend itself to at times cause hurt, cause pain, cause moments we wish we could take back. And things happen that hurt us, right? Whether it's physically, or emotionally, or spiritually. And there's so many people in this world that have been affected by something that is currently happening to them right now. They're being affected. So many people in this world that they're hurting right now because of something that is happening to them right now in the present. But there's also so many people that are hurting even today because of something that happened in the past. Something that occurred not in the present, something that they're not necessarily living or experiencing now, but something that happened in the past. And there's a lot of people going through that. And I'm sure you guys know people perhaps at school, people at work, friends, family, maybe even siblings that have been hurt. They may have been hurt physically. They may have been hurt spiritually. Unfortunately, like I said, we do live in a broken world. I wish I could say every church was perfect. But I wish it wasn't so common, but it is an occurrence that people walk out of churches or are in churches that they're hurt spiritually. Again, can anyone relate? Okay, so I'm not just talking to talk, but I've known people that have been hurt spiritually as a result of church and people from the church, and also emotionally. I'm sure you guys know people who have been hurt emotionally, whether it's through a relationship, whether it's through a parent-child relationship, boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, or just a friend relationship, or someone betrays someone, or someone deceives someone, and their emotions are hurt. Okay? So I'm sorry if this sounds a little gloomy, a little down, but the reality is we do live in a world where this stuff happens, right? Things happen where people are hurt, and I'm not ignorant to the fact that these things happen in the world, but most likely there are people in this room that are still hurting because of past events. Or there's people who perhaps need a video or something that are still hurting today because of past events, because of the evil that was committed, that was done to them, something that had hurt them from the past. And they're suffering, they're hurting because of it today. Or perhaps perhaps it could even be evil that you've done to yourself, or a mistake that you've done, or something a decision that you made that you regret so much, and it's still haunting you today. It's still in your mind, it's still in your heart, and that is hurting you. A mistake or decision that you made in the past that is still hurting today. And if that's you, okay, if that's you, or if you know someone who is hurting today because of something that has been done in the past, I want us to really understand, take the time today to understand what this verse means. Love keeps no record of wrong. Okay? Because you guys, this verse is telling us that we are not supposed to think of that. We are not supposed to that is not supposed to, we're not supposed to hold a record of things, of wrongs. It says, keep no record of evil, or keep no record of wrong. It's saying that we're not supposed to keep records of these things that have perhaps hurt us, or perhaps we've hurt ourselves, or perhaps we know people who have been hurt. This verse is saying we're not supposed to keep a record of that, evil that perhaps that we've even done to ourselves, or evil that others have done to us. It's kind of like, so David, are you just saying we're supposed to ignore it? Are you just saying that we're supposed to ignore what happened, ignore what occurred, the thing that destroyed my life? You're saying I'm just supposed to ignore it and pretend it never happened, or pretend to ignore the decision I made that destroyed my life? David, you're saying I'm just supposed to ignore it and pretend it never happened? Is that what you're saying? I'm like, that is not what I'm saying, okay? So good question, but that is not what I'm saying. If you don't take that from what I want to get across. That's not what this verse is asking us to do, okay? Because simply forgetting or simply ignoring something that someone did to hurt you is not love. Okay? It's not love either. Okay? And the reason is because anyone can do this. And yeah, it might hurt a little bit at the beginning, but eventually people hide those feelings so deep into their past, so deep into their emotions, it's going to seem like they don't matter anymore. It's going to seem like they're not relevant anymore. But they do matter. They do matter. They do matter. And do you guys remember the verse that we were looking at last week regarding anger? 1 Corinthians 13, love is not easily angered. So we were looking at that. Love is not easily angered. We were looking at that last week. And to talk about it a little more, the reason why we need to be so cautious with anger, okay, is because of what it can do to us. Okay? It says in Ephesians 4:26 and 27, we also looked at this a little bit last week. It says, do not let the sun go down while you are still angry, and do not give the devil a foothold. Do you guys know what a foothold is? Okay. I was into rock climbing for a little bit when I was studying up there near Yosemite, and footholds are what you want. You're always climbing, and you always want at least 3 points on there. You have four ways. You always want 3 points on there. But you always want strong foothold. Because it's the foothold that when you're climbing, you can put all the pressure on it. Okay? You can only do so much with your hands. You can only do so much with your with these kind of holds, like the grips. But it's the footholds that you want, because that you feel stable. That you could put so much pressure on. So this verse is saying that when you let anger stay with you, it's creating a foothold for the enemy to where he could just put pressure and put pressure. And you see, when we're angry, usually we say things that we regret. We do things that we wish we could take back. Has that ever happened to anyone? When we're angry, say, let me see. Have you ever been angry? You said something that you regret? Okay, it happened even to me this week. It happens. It happens. When you're angry, you do things and you say things that you regret, that you wish you could take back, and it's as if for that moment we lost control. And you see, like, what could happen when we're angry and when we stay angry is that the devil has a foothold on us. A foothold, again, remember, a foothold is where you can put pressure and kind of control and put so much weight. And when we remain angry and stay angry, it's as if the devil has a foothold on us and is able to influence our behaviors, influence our actions, our words, our feelings, or even the way we think. We allow him to put a lot of pressure on us when we allow that anger to create a foothold. Does that make sense? And these footholds can easily happen as a result of anger if it's not dealt with. Or if you, like this verse says, if you let the sun set on it. These things are happen easily if you don't deal with this anger, if you don't address this anger, if you don't resolve this anger. And the thing I want us to realize is that when we've done an evil, okay, when we've done an evil, or when an evil has been done to us, there's almost always, if not always, a seed of anger. Like if someone does an evil to you, are you like happy, like, woo, do it again? You know, are you like that? That's never happened to me. If someone does something to hurt me, you know, there's anger. There's like why did you do that? There's one of retaliation, or it's never a positive feeling. Okay? And if you have a key to make it a positive feeling, let me know, and I want to learn how to do that. But almost always, if not always, probably always, when someone does something that hurts us, there's a seed of anger that pops up. Okay? So when there's pain, the result many times, is anger. And that may be anger at ourselves for a mistake that we've made, or very commonly, like it's anger towards that person that hurt us or that did the evil towards us. Okay? But when we choose to deal with the evil that has been done, when we choose to deal with the evil that has been done to us by ignoring it or by forgetting about it, by pushing it so far, so deep into our past, so deep into our feelings, when we're pushing that memory of what happened, we're also pushing that seed of anger. Like, are you guys following me? Like, someone does something very hurtful to you. And when you choose to deal with that by forgetting about it, by ignoring it, by pretending it didn't happen, and you're just pushing it to the back of your mind and pushing it to the back of your mind, you're also pushing that seed of anger that comes along with it. So that's being stored in you. That anger is being stored in you. And as a result of that, we give the enemy a foothold into our lives and are allowing him to control a part of us because of that seed of anger. Like to control our feelings, control our emotions, control our relationships, control our self-image, control the way we think. Okay, and the scary thing is the thing that I've been realizing more and more through what I'm studying, through the people I've seen at work, just through hearing stories. The scary thing is that when we push the seed so far down, when we push the memory along with the seed so far down, many times we won't remember about it. Okay, we can't understand why it's so hard for us to be free. See, what I've been learning is that events from the past, traumas from the past, things that have happened from the past, as people grow, they forget about it. They move on, they survive. But it was dealt with by forgetting. So it's still there. It's still here. Okay? And remember, when it's there, when that memory and that seed of anger is there, that is a foothold for the enemy. And that's how he controls emotions, controls the way we perceive ourselves, what we think, our expectations. Because that thing was dealt with by forgetting about it, and then 30 years from now we don't remember about it, and then we're wondering, why can't I feel free? Why is it so hard for me to feel free? Are you guys following me? Yeah? Okay. So I want to tell you guys, forgetting and ignoring an evil that was done to you is not what was called to do. It's not what we are called to do. It's not loving, okay? And it's the easy way out. And you may say, David, like, you don't know what I've been through. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know my life. You don't know how hard it's been. You don't know I was at the point of suicide. You don't know I was about to kill myself. So I just decided to forget about it. And that's the only way I'm surviving. David, you don't know what I'm talking about. Don't you dare say it was easy, because it wasn't. And you guys, like, this is what I do know, okay? I know there's a lot of people that have been sinned against. People that have been abused physically. People that have been abused and violated sexually against their will. People that have been abused and hurt emotionally. Okay, whether it was on purpose or an accident. Like, you didn't ask for your parents to get divorced. You didn't ask for your parents to split up. You didn't ask for one of your parents not to care. You didn't ask for your parents to always be arguing. You didn't ask to be in this relationship that ended up destroying you, that ended up hurting your feelings, to be with a person that you gave them everything, and then they took it, and then they just left you as if you were nothing. You didn't ask to be in those situations. And I know none of these things are easy. I know none of these things are simple to overcome. And I also know that there are a lot of people who have things that they've done that they're ashamed of. That they've abused themselves, that they were cutters, that they were too far sexually with their boyfriend or girlfriend, that they had an abortion, that they did drugs, that they were addicted to porn, that they lied about something, and to this day they haven't admitted it to anyone. No one knows. And I know, you guys, I know that none of these things are easy to deal with. And that forgetting about it and ignoring all these things that have happened, ignoring these circumstances, the people that have abandoned you, the people that have hurt you, the things that you've done that you're ashamed of, I know that ignoring it or forgetting about it feels like the solution, seems like the solution, but it's not. And you see, the reason why I say that forgetting is the easy way out, the reason I'm saying that that's the easy way out is because there's another way. And if this is your situation, if this is at all clicking, if this is at all giving you goosebumps or you're feeling something, and because it's getting you, just really focus and really listen. There's another way to deal with all this as opposed to forgetting and ignoring. But this way requires a significant amount of power in order to do so. A large amount of power. And I'm going to try to explain this real quick. There are three ways that people respond to pain or evil that was done to them, okay? One way is they give up. They let it destroy them. Okay? That means they're automatically destroyed. When someone does a sin against them, when someone hurts them, when someone abandons them, betrays them, abuses them, one of the ways is just to give in and let it destroy you. This takes absolutely no power to do. You just give up. It takes no strength. As a matter of fact, it's what you do when you have no strength. You give up. You give in. You try to cover the pain. You try to cover the pain either through drugs or something, or you just accept it and you give into it. If someone has been where I work, it's very common that young girls are abused physically, are abused sexually. And the girls that respond in this way, or even the young men that respond in this way, they give in, they accept it, it destroys them, and they just continue to act. They say, it was taken from me, my sexuality was taken from me, so I'm just going to continue. So they continue into a cycle of just giving their body. That's their way of solving the solution. Because it would be a lot easier for them to make the choice to give their body than for someone to take it from them again. So that's one way. People choose to just accept it, give it, and allow it to destroy it. And they say life is this way. Another way is people choose to forget. This is what we've been talking about. People choose to forget and ignore and they just move on. An evil happened to them. Something that hurt them happened. Something that hurt them or evil happened to them. And the way they respond, the second way, by forgetting or ignoring. And this person is not necessarily destroyed. This person is able to survive and move forward 30, 40, 50 years and have a family and continue and just move on. But dealing with this requires only human power. Only our strength. Like dealing with the problems and situation requires only human power. That's in order to reach this point, you could do it by your own strength. By dealing with it in this way, by forgetting. And you'll be able to survive. Yeah, you'll be able to live through life and move on. But here's the thing. It's always going to be there. The hurt that you feel, the sadness that you feel, you dealt with it by forgetting, but that seed is always going to be there. And that seed of anger will be there. And if that seed of anger is always there, remember, anger is the way that the enemy creates a foothold and then is able to pressure us and influence us and influence the way we think, the way we act, the way we behave. And there are people who don't know why they are the way they are. 30 years from now, 40 years from now, they look back and they don't know why they, or even in our age, we look back and we don't know why we are the way we are. And they don't realize that it comes from something that happened from the past, happened when they were younger. This is so common that situations from the past influence who a person is in the present. You guys, don't let this be you. Don't let this be you in the negative sense. If it's positive experiences, of course, let that shape you, let that form you, let that dictate who you're going to be. But if it's hurting experiences that have hurt you, experiences from the past, don't be the person that 30 years from now you're wondering why it's so hard for you to feel free. Don't let the devil have a stronghold on you, a foothold on you, forever. To the point where you forget what happened. You forget what happened and then you feel like you just accept it. You just feel this is the way life is supposed to be. This is the way life has always been. This is the way life is always going to be. Don't let this happen to you. Don't just forget about it and ignore it. Because it's going to be there until it's dealt with. Which brings me to the third point. The third way that people deal with hurt and pain or instances. And this is the one we need to strive for. To choose to confront it and to choose to deal with it. And you may say, well, why, David? Why? It's so hard to face this. It's so hard to deal with it. It's so hard to confront it. Why? And I know it's hard, but why? If not, it's always going to be there. It's always going to have an influence on who you are, have an impact on who you're going to be. That's why. That's the motive. That's the reason. Because by ignoring it, it's just going to, you may be able to move the next day, the next week, the next month, the next year. But it's still going to be there. And because it's there, it has an influence on who you are. The enemy has has the ability to have a stronghold and influence the way you think, influence the way you act. That's why you choose to take this approach, to confront it, to deal with it. So you may ask, but how? How? Okay, David, so I know the importance, but how? And the answer is with love. That's what this verse, I believe, is teaching us. The answer to deal with this stuff is with love. And you see, like, the Bible gives us standards for love. And it says one of the standards is don't hold any record of wrong. Don't hold any record of these things that will hurt you. That's what the Bible says. But it doesn't just tell you to do something and then not give you any more. It also teaches us that God is there to help us face it. That God is there to help us deal with it. We need to remember that love itself is powerful. I don't know, a few weeks ago we talked about that. Love is not for the weak. Because love is God, God is love, and God is anything but weak. And you guys got to remember that love is power, okay? And that love can only, true love, the agape love, the godly love, can only be acquired through the Holy Spirit, okay? Because the fruit of the Spirit is love, okay? So when you have that, you have the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is powerful, so you're able to confront this, you're able to deal with this, you're able to face these situations. And if the Bible is saying that we must not hold any record of wrong, that means we can't just ignore it or pretend that it didn't happen. We need to face it for the sake of love. And God can, and God will give you the strength to do so if you decide to do it. Okay, I'm going to say that one more time. God can and God will give you strength to do it, to face it, to overcome it, if you decide to do it. If you decide to face it and take that challenge. And what this ultimately comes down to, what this ultimately means is forgiveness. Love holds no record of wrong. What this comes down to is forgiveness. And some of us, when we hear that word, and then we compare it to the situation, it's like, no way. No way. That's impossible. Forgive this person, or even forgive myself for what I did. You guys, that's why the third option can only be done with love. And love can only come from God. So addressing it and confronting it, I know you can't do it. I can't do it. But it's God through us, it's God with us, that we're able to confront this. So forgiveness is the solution. Forgiveness is what we're talking about. And Jesus knows the importance of of not keeping a record of wrong, and how important it is to forgive. It is so important that he even makes this a command, because he knows how important, I think the next slide, there's a few verses here that just shows the command to forgive. Mark 11:25 says, and whenever you stand praying, forgive if you have anything against someone, so that your Father also who is in heaven may forgive you of your trespasses. If you come and you're worshiping him, but you have something against someone, forgive, in order for you to be able to approach God and for God to forgive your trespasses. It goes hand in hand. Matthew 6:14-15. For if you forgive others their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive others their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses. And guys, honestly, I wish I could milk this down and say, well, only if you feel like it. Only if it's easy for you. Only if it's something that you're feeling. Forgiving that person that hurt you. Forgiving that person that really did this. I wish I could say that, but I'd be taking the word out of context, and I will never do that. The Bible says, forgive in order to be forgiven. We go to God and we ask God for forgiveness. But we also need to forgive those who trespass against us. And again, ultimately, God makes this a rule, a commandment, because it benefits us. It benefits us. It removes that seed. It removes that foothold. And if you've been hurt by someone, or if you've done something that has hurt you, or that is hurting you right now, God is calling us to act in love. That's why we're talking about this series. That's why we're looking at this. That's why we're spending so much time with this. God is calling us as a group, as individuals, to act in love. And today what we're learning, acting in love, God is calling us to forgiveness, to forgive ourselves. Forgive yourself. If there's something you hate to think about, or something that had happened in the past, something that when you think about it, it just gives you such a feeling of regret, of remorse. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. And if there's something that someone else has done to you, as hard as this is, decide to forgive them. Choose to forgive that person. And we've got to remember that forgiveness is not in a moment. Forgiveness is a process, but it only can start with a decision to forgive. Did you guys follow that? This is kind of important. Forgiveness is not in a moment. Forgiveness doesn't happen instantly. Forgiveness is a process. But that process can only start with a decision that only you can make. And I know that's not something easy, but when we do it in love, we're doing it in God, because God is love. And God will give us the power to make it through having to confront and face this. And well, David, you may say, well, I think I've forgiven this person. I know it happened. I think I've forgiven. I think I've moved on. I think I've forgiven myself. And don't let me put things back into you. Okay, if you've forgiven, if you've forgiven yourself, if you've forgiven another person, don't let me put things back into you and make you feel guilty or something like, oh, I didn't do it right. No, if you, this is how you know. This is how you know you're forgiven. When you could remember it. When you could look at that person or look at yourself and recall that situation and not feel anger, not feel anything against that person, and you're able to love that person, that's when you can say, I've forgiven. I've forgiven. And remember, that is a process that we're here for, that we're here to help you. We're here to help. In some situations, we're going through it as well. We can help each other. You can help me. We can help you. But that's how you know. I'm not trying to put things back into you, but I also want you to understand that if you interact with this person, or if you look at this person, you even think about this person, and it brings back it brings back feelings of anger. That seed is still there. And because that seed is still there, the devil has the opportunity to have a foothold and move you and put pressure on you and influence the way you think, the way you act, the way you feel. Okay? Like I said, this is where it all ties in together. Like if you think about, like I was saying, if you think about a person, or if you're around a person that hurt you and you still feel bad feelings or anger towards, you're still giving the enemy an opportunity to have a foothold on you. And I don't want you to feel bad. Okay? Hear what I'm saying. We're wrapping up. We're like half a page from the conclusion, so hang in there. I don't want you to feel bad about this. I don't want you to blame yourself or put yourself down for not being able to forgive, or put yourself down for not being able to get rid of that seed of anger that you see this person and you're just so angry. Don't be mad at yourself, because you can't get rid of it with your own power. Just accept that. If it was for you, you can't get rid of it, and it's going to be there and it's going to stay there. That hurt, that memory, that emotion, that incident, it's going to stay there, and you can't get rid of it by yourself. Because again, all we have is human strength. That is why we need the power of love. That is why we need to choose to act in love. Because when we're doing it for the sake of love, when we're doing it with love, we're doing it with God. Remember, God is anything but weak. And when God is moving through you, when God is working through you, when God is helping you through the emotions, that doesn't mean that there aren't going to be tears. That doesn't mean it isn't going to hurt. And I'm talking about the process of forgiveness. That doesn't mean it isn't going to hurt. That doesn't mean there's not going to be tears. That doesn't mean there's probably going to be drawbacks and you're just going to be so angry again. I'm not saying it's going to be all roses and butterflies and it's going to be so easy. It's going to hurt because that's what it is. It's been a hurt that's done to you, and in order to be able to overcome that, it's a process to be able to go through it. And only with the power of God are we able to face the evil that was done to us or that we've committed. Only with the power of God are we able to face it and overcome it. And last example. I just want to give you guys a personal example, and I love you guys, I trust you guys, so I know I can share this with you guys, but always the first thing that comes to mind when it comes to pain, when it comes to incidences, when it comes to hurts of the past, it comes to the situation of my dad. I come from like a divorced household since I was a freshman in high school, so it's been almost, I can't even do the math anymore. It's been a long time. And I remember the day that my mom told my dad they were going to get a divorce. I was outside in the front, working on my basketball skills, playing basketball. I remember just being in the front yard, and I knew that at that moment, that day, my mom was going to talk to my dad. And then I just remember, as I was playing basketball, seeing my dad and walk out of the house, the handful of clothes, put it in his truck, and then walk back in, and I get some more, one last handful, put it in his car, and he left. He drove away without even, saying goodbye or saying anything. And I heard, it hurt. I was like, wow. I thought it would have happened differently, but he left. Saw him a couple more times after that day, but then he disappeared. He disappeared for 3 years. He was gone. I didn't know if he was alive. I didn't know if he was dead. I didn't know if he was looking for us. I didn't know if he wanted us to look for him. I didn't know where he was. I didn't know if he cared about us, because remember, the last thing I remember is him walking out right in front of me without even saying bye, I love you, or anything. And then during that time, my family went through a lot. And I'm giving my side of the stories, so I know my siblings are here, so I apologize if this is a little uncomfortable. But for my side of the story, my family went through a lot. As I was male, I wanted to help, I wanted to provide, I wanted to get a job, I wanted to be there to help all my family emotionally, and all this stuff. We had to move financially. We were all this stuff was happening, and there was so much anger and hatred towards my father, who just abandoned us and left, disappeared, didn't say anything. And he was gone. 3 years later, through a long story, but we ended up getting reconnected. And it was a process for a while of being able to build a relationship again, being able to overcome the pain, the hurt that happened, the feeling of abandonment, the feeling of just hurt. It was ugly, right? I mean, no one ever wants to feel that. And seeing what my family went through because of that. It took a while to get over, but looking back on it, that's why I can preach this message knowing that this works, is because I know it was not by my strength. It was only by the power of God that I was able, that I have been able to rebuild a relationship with Him and develop it and get to know Him and look at Him today and say, I love you, and genuinely care about Him. Only through the power of God. Again, I went through a process, and I got to a point where everything was cool. I remember praying a prayer at church, and God, I forgive him, we're cool. I cried and I forgive him, and I thought everything was good. But there was moments when I still thought back, and there was anger. And I thought I had forgiven him. I had said the words, I forgiven him. But there was still anger. There was still that seed of anger. And then I remember someone was praying for me. It was the three of us in this huge room, and someone was praying for me. It was like prophesying. He just looked at me and he just said, you gotta ask your dad for forgiveness. I'm like, what? I need to ask him for forgiveness? After everything he did to me, after everything that has happened, I need to ask him for forgiveness? So we had a conversation, and then I decided, I want, because I realized I wasn't set free because of the way I was responding to the emotions. And I decided, I want to be free. I want to be set free. I don't want to live this way, have resentment, see him, and then feel in the back of my mind, or when I hear his name, think these certain things. I want to be set free. So I did what I couldn't do. And only through the power of God, I called him, I said, I'm coming. I drove to him. That night, I just got there, and, there was small talk, but then I said, the reason I'm here is, to ask you for forgiveness. I want to ask you to forgive me for everything that has happened. And then we talked for a while. I'm not going to tell you everything we talked about, but we talked for a while. He said, it sounded like you knew. I need to ask you for forgiveness. So it was just awesome to see the way God orchestrated that. God made that happen. And like I said, today I could genuinely go up to him and tell him I love him, tell him I care about him. He takes me to King Taco all the time, so it's a good relationship. But no, I'm just kidding. Well, he does, but that's not why it's a good relationship. Anyway, what I'm trying to say, I'm not just trying to give you a story to give you a story. I'm trying to help you understand that I know it's hard. I know it's very common for a lot of people to come from blended homes, to come from mixed homes. And that process is never easy. It's never like, oh, Brady Bunch, well, even that wasn't easy. But anyway, it's never like clean cut and it just fits and it just works. I know a lot of us come perhaps hurting from things that are in our households or relationships with our parents, feeling abandoned, feeling hurt, or our siblings feeling the same thing, hurt, abandoned, whatever it is. And I'm not trying to put anything on you. I'm just trying to bring out the reality of this world, the reality of the way people feel, and it's okay if you feel that way. See, the moment you think it's not okay to feel that way, you're going to start to try to solve those feelings by forgetting about it, by ignoring it, by putting it in the back of your mind. And remember, when that happens, you're leaving that seed there. You're leaving that there. And you're going to grow, and that's going to influence who you are. Because I want you guys to be set free. I want to be fully set free. I want all of us to be set free. It's only through the power of God. It's only through the power of God that we can decide no and act out. Love holds no record of wrong. I want to ask you guys to just close your eyes right there where you are.